Please be advised that everything in my video is purely for entertainment purposes. These are purely my thoughts and opinions and are subjective. I must advise you to please do your own research. All media users found on the public domain and are fair use and fair dealings.
Hi guys, thanks for joining me back for part 2 of Harry's revenge. So I hope everyone had a nice bank holiday weekend, those that had the bank holiday in the UK, and in the USA I know it was your Memorial Day weekend. I did see that there was lots of celebrations, lots of parties, lots of get-togethers, and obviously remembering all those that sacrificed their lives. So it came as a bit of a shocker for not just myself but quite a few people in the media and on social media that we didn't hear anything. A missed PR opportunity for Harry. Nothing on their Archwell website to commemorate, Memorial Day. Not even a post with their normal buzzwords, the word salad, wokey stuff. There was absolutely nothing to commemorate War Memorial Day. Yet on Remembrance Sunday, they went to a cemetery in LA, reportedly shut down the cemetery so they could stage that really offensive photo shoot. They took a fashion photographer with them. As I said, they stopped families from coming in because they didn't want them, obviously, in these shots to, so it's the more dramatic of Harry and Meghan walking away, holding hands, walking through the graves. It was so completely PR stunt, and obviously it did upset, quite a lot of Americans, which it should do. But it does make you think that obviously it was just done to make a swipe at the royals, to cause more drama, to make the American audience feel sorry for him because he obviously still very much cares about the military. I mean, he appeared on a US, I think it was Stand Up for Heroes, a fundraiser for US veterans, raising funds for them. And, he was there in a suit wearing his little medals. Obviously, he is trying to carry that across and trying to appeal to US military as well, like Meghan. In her book, The Bench, she had a US military soldier holding up his son. So, yeah, I find it very odd that they have gone completely quiet, and I guess maybe it's because no one was willing to pay them. As cynical as that sounds, you think Harry has been popping up everywhere, but he's stayed rather silent on this huge day for his adopted country. So before I start covering the Me You Can't See docuseries that he did with Oprah, a story did come to light which makes Harry, well, there's no polite way to say this, a huge bellend. It turns out the documentary that he's been working on for years with Oprah was actually signed off by the Queen in 2018. The Queen had agreed for Harry to do the show with Oprah because he told her it was to do with veterans, when they return to civilian life, the mental health support that they receive or don't receive. So naturally, with Harry being part of Invictus or everything, the Queen had signed off on it. To me, that just further proves that they were plotting and planning long before, the wedding really to do this escape. And I've seen that there's a large American audience, worryingly, there seems to be a large number of people that think that they did this, this big escape because they were treated poorly. But the point is that they never had to join the royal family. The Queen offered for Harry and Meghan to continue working, to not become senior royals. They both said that that's what they definitely wanted to do. And then as soon as they got those titles, they were plotting and planning to leave. There's been reports that they were having meetings with other channels to rival YouTube. There is so much stuff that points to the fact that they never intended to stay. And this also goes to show the new me Harry, because if he'd had actually stuck to what he told the Queen he was going to do, that might have actually made that show a bit more interesting. And I've read lots of posts all over social media that people have had enough of, with everything that's happening in the world, that celebrities still think now is the time to release woe is me pity stories. So I'm going to start with this docuseries. I'm not going to go in too deep. Now, I'm going to say that no one really knows what goes on behind closed doors. And yes, I'm going to bring up the fateful night when they went to Cirque du Soleil. And I'm not saying that Meghan did not actually have troubles, but there is a few things that definitely flagged up with me. So Harry's told Oprah that Meghan wanted to take her own life and that of their child, right? And he said that he felt embarrassed and shame and he didn't get her help. He didn't reach out, he didn't know how to deal with it. So that's complete contradictions when he said he didn't tell anyone, but then he's having a go at his family that they did nothing to help. Then you've heard that she did actually seek help. She went to HR and she was told no. Then another version, we were told that they actually went to 2 senior royals, no names given naturally, and they were told no, that's not the done thing to do. So it is a massive contradiction. So why are Harry and Meghan blaming the royal family for not doing anything when they're saying that they didn't actually reach out for help? Plus the fact, Harry is a grown man, he's a husband, he is a father of 1, soon to be 2. What 34-year-old man does not actually get help for his wife that says, I'm going to kill myself and our unborn child. Oh no, it's okay, darling, let's put on a sparkly dress and I'll take you to Cirque du Soleil. It doesn't add up. I have many reasons for saying that, because Harry himself was in therapy. He could have called his own therapist. He could have called Doria, who Harry and Meghan are reportedly very, very close to. He could have literally rung a number of people. They have doctors, they have royal doctors on sites, but more importantly, which I do not understand that Harry and Meghan do not mention, she was pregnant. It's not uncommon for a mother, especially in her first pregnancy, to suffer from antenatal depression. So that should have been a serious red flag for both of them. Harry went on with further details, and he said that Meghan decided to share with me the suicidal thoughts and the practicalities of how she was going to end her life. Okay, I'm going to say what the F here. That to me is again really bizarre. I've been in dark places myself. I've had loved ones go through, terrible, terrible times, and I have seen people over the years that have gone through it, that have luckily come through it, but it is a very, very tough struggle. But when you're at your deepest and darkest moments, to then explain to someone, I'm sorry, darling, if you go out tonight, I'm going to kill myself, and I'm going to explain exactly how I'm going to do it. Again, it's very strange. And Harry's, again, his phrases that he's used. She explained the practicalities of how she was going to do it. Another reason why I think it's manipulation is because she actually said to Harry the only reason why she didn't do it was not because she was pregnant, not because she loves him, not because she thinks that she might be a bit unwell. No, it was because he'd already lost his mother, and it would be too cruel for her to take away the only other woman in Harry's life. Harry's weak point is obviously clearly his mother. It is emotional manipulation, and I just think there's so much wrong with that conversation. So speaking of Diana, and moving on to the next bit, Harry was angry that the public grieved for Diana. Yes, he was angry at the crowd of mourners and flowers and tears from people, because as Harry said, she was my mum, you never even met her. Okay, he was 12 and it must have been absolutely devastating. Lots of people have got in touch with me and said the wailing that people were doing and the screaming, yeah, okay, that obviously was a bit much. But there's a bit of it that I just think, okay, when he was 12, he didn't really understand. But now at the age that he is, after all these years of therapy, he's still angry about it. You can see that when he says it, there's obviously still a little bit of possession there over his mother. And, it's his mum, and who knows, we all grieve in different ways. But surely he could look back on that and just see it as a positive, to see how many people's lives his mother touched, how much his mother was loved. I would take that as an absolute heartwarming thing, as a positive thing, and think, as I said, he was 12 at the time, but now you'd see that as my mother was really loved. That makes me so proud, the amount of people that, that absolutely adored her because of how wonderful she was. Nope, not Harry. Following on from, obviously, the loss of his mother, which is his main thing talking about this, this documentary, his mental health struggles, he puts down all of his partying, clubbing, drinking at weekends due to losing his mum. And I'm sorry, but teens and 20-year-olds, you can go down a pub on a Friday or Saturday night. It's pretty normal behaviour. And he always looked like he was having fun, but he seems to, again, just be placing blame in every area of his life apart from himself. There is never, ever once, and there never has been thus far, one moment of him going, well, yeah, no, I behaved badly. I did this. I'm sorry that I wore a Nazi uniform. There's nothing. It's everything that he did. He acted out because of something that he's now saying happened to him. His father's fault, his grandparents' fault, the public's fault. It's just on and on. Another thing I have an issue with, these are lots of my issues to do with the show. But he said, we tried to make it work for 4 years. 4 years, Harry. Right, Meghan had her first official royal engagement on the 1st of December 2017. So they got married in May 2018, and Megxit was 18 months later. Meghan did a total of 179 engagements. 95 of those were abroad. So that is in less than 2 years, 179 engagements. Bear in mind, engagements can be anything from a handshake, a speech, which we know Meghan loved to give speeches, dinners, and a lot of the stuff that happened on tours, which I say 95 of them were abroad. They were in Fiji, Tonga, New Zealand, Ireland, Australia, South Africa, Morocco, meeting kings and queens and, having absolute every luxury thrown at them, wonderful kind of ceremonies on their arrival. And then in between that as well, they have various holidays to France, to Italy. Meghan was on maternity leave for 4 months, I think it was. And then they also had 6 weeks in Canada before they declared Brexit. So if you think about how much they worked in that short period of time, but Harry says that they tried to make it work for 4 years. I don't think they tried very hard somehow. And speaking of going abroad, Harry said that he was forced by his family to visit Nepal in March 2016. He was completely exhausted and burnt out because he was their yes man. In 2015, he did a total of 112 engagements throughout the entire year. So as I said, there could be multiple engagements in one day: a speech, a handshake, film premieres, lunches, dinners, events hosted on behalf of them where they are the guest of honour. In 2016, before he went to Nepal, he had done a total of 9 engagements. That's from the 1st of January to when he went in the middle of March. 9 engagements. I know, I can feel your heart breaking for him. Now, aside from drawing attention to how little it takes for Harry to feel exhausted, how absolutely offensive is that to the Nepalese? His trip involved meeting survivors of the horrific earthquakes that they suffered, killing over 9,000 people, including Gurkhas, who helped with the mass rescue operations. Harry served with the Gurkhas when he was in Afghanistan and had a team of his own, basically his personal protection officers, which were Gurkhas. And I just think how disgusting those people out there, you know, he's walking around the devastation and everything, and there he is bitching later that he was exhausted from doing 9 engagements. You can't even say in 3 months that was 9 full working days, because we know it wasn't. I just find it completely offensive to broadcast that he never wanted to be there. He could have just generalised and said a lot of the engagements I didn't want to go to, but to actually say that particular country in that visit, I just think it's unbelievably rude. And also it makes you think, oh, is he going to say that about all of his other visits that he did that year? Everyone else, you know, the children's hospitals that he's visited, the schools. Harry was saying how he was forced to do it and he was miserable and he didn't want to do any of it. Another slip up or contradiction that Harry did was he said that he was in therapy for 4 years. He only got therapy when Meghan made him seek help. Yet in 2020 at the JP Morgan banking event, he said on stage that he had been in therapy for 7 years. And various other interviews, he said that he got help at 28 because William and Catherine encouraged him to get help. Prince Charles helped his son go to rehab at 17 because he got caught smoking cannabis and drinking heavily. Harry has had therapy for a number of years for various different reasons, but the way he's selling it is Meghan was the only one that got him help. He said that he had no support, he was totally neglected, and another obvious dig at the royal family, he made a point of saying families are good at covering up struggles. Yes, clearly, Harry, the royal family are amazing at covering up what an awful person you can be. They clearly know how to polish a turd. So throughout it, you know, Harry has done this quite a lot. You know, he keeps praising Meghan as his saviour. Since he met her, he's been a happier, better person. He's his best version of himself. He was trapped, he was miserable, he was forced to work, he was suffering in silence until Meghan helped him and made him realise how awful his life was. Old, happy Harry, funny, cheeky Harry, one of the lads, lovable Harry, new Harry, moany, whingy, whiny, arrogant, entitled, rude, miserable. So he attacked Charles again, naturally. Charles caused Harry pain and suffering throughout his childhood and explained he did so because it was how he was treated and how he was raised by the Queen and Philip. How completely offensive to the Queen, Philip, who has just recently passed. I mean, when you think the Queen and Philip raised, obviously, Princess Anne, we've got Prince Edward, all right, we've got Andy, so Andy is a whole different ball game, but their children have all turned out perfectly fine. You don't see Zara and Philip tortured and crushed. You don't see the York princesses that also had titles, which Anne didn't actually give to her children. The York princesses have grown up, they're down to earth, they love their family, they come across as really, really nice young women. You know, we've got Lady Louise, then you've got Viscount James, and they all seem to be normal, healthy children growing up in the same bubble that Harry did, but Harry is the one that suffered. Why would any parent want their child to suffer? Oh, so Charles now apparently wanted you to suffer. Oh, it's genetic trauma that was passed down. Harry talks like, he's not going to make any mistakes being a parent, and anyone out there knows that that is not true. But one of the things that Archie is going to grow up, as will their daughter when she arrives, they're going to grow up and realise that they were cut off from all of their families, all of their grandparents, all of their cousins, and they might have their ear poisoned and bent while they're younger by their parents, but when they get older and they start becoming adults and making decisions for themselves, I'd imagine that the royal family will absolutely make it clear that they will, have open arms for them. And when those children get older, they're going to realise exactly what Harry and Meghan have done to them and what they have taken away from them. Not so much as being part of the royal family, but being part of a family. Harry's attacks on Charles, it can be easily, completely debunked. So we've got so many articles, interviews, actual documented, footage of Harry saying about his dad was brilliant. He helped him really cope through Diana's death. That he used to ring his pa all the time and Charles would spend hours on the phone to him. Harry asked his dad to walk his bride down the aisle, but all of a sudden Charles is this demonic, awful person. Charles only became Harry's abusive, awful father when he was financially cut off. And that is one thing I want to make very clear. Charles has never been attacked by Harry like this in the past in the media, despite all of the documentaries. Even look at Finding Freedom. Again, I say, why was none of this in Finding Freedom? It would have certainly made it a bit more of an interesting read. Also, Diana was chased to her death because she was dating someone who was not white. Yes, Harry is pushing the racism narrative as to the reasons why his mother died that horrible night. The media was interested in every relationship she had. It had nothing to do with anyone's colour, and the fact that he's using his mother's death as propaganda to stir up more racial tensions is absolutely astonishing. Harry starts talking about a connecting line about all of our collective well-being, and when that erodes, that affects our ability to be caretakers of ourselves, our communities, and that of the planet. We have to create a more supportive culture. Okay, that's a load of Meghan's buzzwords. Why doesn't he try thinking about what his actions and all of these accusations are doing to his grieving grandmother, who weeks ago lost her partner of 73 years? He's attacking his father just when, Charles's own father has passed. Meghan and Harry can't encourage compassion in others' lives and people to show kindness when they absolutely show none for their own families. He's preaching about understanding mental health while attacking his family weekly. You had Oprah. Okay, they got Oprah off their chest. Then you had the Dax Shepard. Then you've got this new Oprah show, The Me You Can't See. It is absolutely disgusting. They said that they wanted to get their point across in Finding Freedom. They did that. Now it's completely changed. But again, the comparisons. Why was none of this in Finding Freedom? It's because they only started saying this when they were cut off. So from all of the contradictions, from how long he's had therapy, when his low points were, he said one minute he was talking about, that the army was the best for him when he was just Captain Wales. And then he talks about that it was also one of his low points as well. He brings up his naked partying in Las Vegas. That was his low points. That was to do with because of his losing his mother when he was younger. And I mean, that was in 2012, but he didn't actually leave the army till 2015. So if the army was his best years, but that was his low year, that's what I mean. He can't even stick to the same story. What is very clear to me with Harry, and this is definitely something he's clearly got off of Meghan, there is not a single moment where he takes any responsibility for his own actions. His choices, anything he did bad in his youth was because of Diana died. He was a poor young man forced to cruelly work by his family despite being exhausted. He had a terrible, cold, lonely childhood filled with pain and trauma, passed down not just through his father, but his grandparents as well. If he hated the royal family so much in 2016, as before he even met Meghan, and he didn't want to do it, he felt forced, he felt pushed, surely he would have told this when he first started dating Meghan, and they would have made their plan to leave, which they have clearly done, and they clearly did do. But they did not take the Queen's offer, where she said that Meghan could continue to work and, they wouldn't become full-time royals. That obviously didn't work because they needed the titles. So that's why that they married and did that big, ridiculous wedding and said that they were going to be Duke and Duchess because they were always going to leave. That was the plan, but they knew they needed the titles. This is why the story is coming out now that Meghan's told Harry to tone down his attacks on the royal family because she is scared of losing her title. Yes, the equality feminist warrior, which is Meghan, doesn't want to be ranked. She wants to be linked. She wants to keep her titles to the family, the links to the family that oppressed her, abused her, were racially awful to her and her unborn child, that bullied her, that refused to get her mental help, that basically left her to suffer when she was pregnant with her first child. Yes, she wants the titles to link herself to that family because of one reason. And I don't need to say it because you all know. They could have taken up the Queen's offer, but they didn't. They could have left to go to LA, but they didn't. They absolutely had to convince the public and get the patronages and pretend to be royals for a bit so they could move that to LA and then market it. That's what they're trying to do. They want to be LA celebrity royals. Obviously, when the Queen and Charles started shutting them down, this is when we started hearing how awful their lives were. The more that they got told no, the more things that were taken away from them, this is when the narrative has got more and more bitter. The accusations have become so much more dramatic. They were unprotected, forced into slave labour. Meghan had her passport stolen, yet whilst jet-setting around the world. There are so many different inconsistencies with both their stories that have come out. And as I keep saying, why was none of this in Finding Freedom? They worked with the authors for Finding Freedom. So why have we heard none of this before? It would have made us certainly more of a dramatic exit if they'd have actually sold this narrative when they left. But they didn't. They wanted to be half in, half out. They wanted to be Sussex royal. They wanted to keep their security. They wanted to keep everything and still serve the Queen, but earn money on the side. And that's what it comes down to. Now, Harry might sadly feel that he's getting some sort of revenge for Diana's death or whatever other grievances that Meghan's told him he now has. Perhaps it is purely just one big tantrum over being told no. It's clear for anyone that recognises Harry before he met Meghan, he seems to be brainwashed and I would say manipulated, and he pretty much comes across as someone that's been indoctrinated into a cult, really. I think Harry is now definitely swimming with sharks. I don't think any of the people that are around him are particularly supporting him, and I think they're encouraging this kind of negative behaviour, and Harry might think that he's in control of it. He might think that he is the one that is aiming the shotgun at his family, and to be fair, Harry is the one that's obviously loaded the gun. He's the one that's put the bullets in, but I think we can all see that it's Meghan who is actually pulling the trigger. And one day, which I don't think will be too long from now, Harry is going to be staring down the barrel of that very same shotgun. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I will be back very soon. Take care for now, guys. Bye.
If you like my video, please remember to like and subscribe. Please, angry typists, you will be blocked, so save your fingers the time. If you would like to buy me a coffee, please go to my About page and click the link. Love, Taz.